Hey everybody, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy, my channel's Finding Value. If you like making obscene amounts of money, this is the channel for you. Click subscribe, click the thumbs up button if you like this content. Today I'm going to go over ratios and indicators. I do this on a weekly basis to see how things are interacting with each other in terms of ratios. Let's jump in here and see what they look like. This is ratios and indicators. So one of the indicators is the dollar. It is in a decline, pretty steep decline. I'm kind of zoomed in here. Actually, wait, this is a daily chart. So we're zoomed in. We got a little bit of strength here. We'll see how far this thing goes, but it's in a downtrend. Even if this were to come back, even up to like 94, it's still going to be in a downtrend. Here's Treasury Yield. This is the 10-year Treasury Yield. Again, we're still in this uptrend, so that means yields are going higher, and it means that people are selling bonds and yields are going up, which means they see inflation. Here's the euro dollar, just to give you a really big picture. This is back in the 60s and 70s. Very large and steep decline all the way to about 82 or 83. Now we're kind of chopping sideways, which I think is due to demographics. This is the Gen X population. And the euro is heading on up. So the euro is stronger than the USD, which typically indicates this is another strength, euro USD here. This is the last commodity bull market, and I think we're going to see this go up. And if we break this large pattern to the upside, that means the euro is going to be outpacing the dollar and that the dollar is extremely weak. Typically, a weak dollar is associated with an expansionary phase of real estate, typically. And typically, it means that the commodity boom is coming. So here's tips, very long-term perspective. You can see this, guys. We've got a little sideways choppy action, then it went back into its upper uptrend. Here's bonds. You can see that we were at a kind of the upper end of the bond limit in terms of bond prices. So this goes opposite of yield. You can see it's declining here, and we kind of broke out. We hit this upper channel, came down, broke the uptrend here, and then we broke another trend line here going to the downside. So even if this back tests, I think it's going to roll over eventually and continue this downtrend that it's in. Here is gold and silver ratio. The declining ratio means that silver's outperforming gold. We're right here kind of in this sideways chopping action. I'm expecting this to go to the downside eventually, which means silver is going to outperform gold. Platinum, or this is copper. So copper is outperforming gold at the moment. I expect this to maybe come back up when gold breaks out of its pattern, and then we'll see a little bit of a back test maybe up here a little bit. But this ratio should go to the upside eventually when gold breaks out to the upside. I do think copper is going to outperform in the long run, but I think gold in the short term might do pretty well. Here's gold to oil. Again, I think oil is going to outperform in the long term, but I do think it's going to come back up because we see a little bullish engulfing here. I do think it's going to come up just a little bit, and gold will outperform for a little while. I'm just bullish on gold on the short term. Gold to platinum ratio, this is where I think platinum is going to outperform. It's going to continue to head on down, is the overall trend. So I think platinum outperforming gold means that stocks are going to do pretty weak, that we're going to have a commodity boom here. Typically when gold outperforms platinum, it's an indicator that stocks is going to do well. This is a better indicator for commodities if platinum's outperforming gold. And here's the housing starts. I just want to show you that this is increasing into an expansionary phase. 1,500 is the normal yearly demand, and we're just getting above it. So we're going into an expansionary phase, which is inflationary. And you're going to see interest rates come up. All this stuff's going to align quite well. And what this means, if we're in an expansion phase, typically it means that we have inflation. You'll eventually have rising interest rates through this expansion phase because we're just entering it. And commodities, real estate, and tips will be a good spot to be, I think. And then eventually you'll get into this hyper supply phase. That's at the end. That's probably 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years out. That's when we have high interest rates, high inflation, and that's a good time to enter bonds at the top because you have high interest rates, and eventually you'll see a crash in the housing market, which will be deflationary, and you want to be in bonds at that point. So that's the ratio and market update for that. In terms of stocks, I'll just pop in here real quick. Looks like we got a bearish engulfing here. We might head a little bit lower on copper. We might see a pullback. I was looking at, let's pull up gold. Gold looks pretty good. See how it's a small little down day here? That's not too bad. So typically you want small little pullback, maybe a day or two, and then head on up to the upside. So I'm expecting gold to potentially go higher. I mean, the momentum's higher. Looks pretty good. Well, G-silver's not going to work there. Silver, a little bit of a contraction day. It may pull back tomorrow, just small little day or something. Hopefully, what I want to see is buyers step in here and push this thing and drive it forward. Usually next to a big down day like this, if all you get are these little up days, it may not have the oomph to push it through. It may roll over because this pattern right here, if you were to draw it out, you might see a down day tomorrow. We want it to be small and compact. We don't want a large, massive down day. We want small little pullbacks with the buyers in control and pushing this thing up. I don't want to see a big, $50, $60 down day. That means the sellers are still in control. So there's a fight going on right now. And looking at platinum, it kind of pulled back, so we got a little wick at the top. We'll see where this thing heads tomorrow. It's kind of coiling up all in this ball of a tip here. I want to see a big breakout to the upside of 40, 50 bucks, 30 bucks, something like that. Something large, kind of large. But it's coming. The buyers are just squeezing it up against the resistance of the sellers here. I think the buyers will win. For oil, we've got a bearish engulfing here. We kind of pulled up, came back. This one's going to be difficult to see, but I think we might have a little bit of a pullback here with this bearish engulfing. But this is kind of funky. We have a bullish engulfing here. It came up, bearish engulfing with a bullish piercing right next to it. We could see this. Tomorrow is going to be a good day to watch because it's right at that inflection point where the buyers are hitting the sellers, and we've got a bearish engulfing and a bullish piercing right next to it. And usually what happens is it coils up. You'll see a down day, but the down day today was very small and very mute. So there's a high likelihood that this could go to the upside on a very short-term basis. Long-term, it's going up. So that's oil there. Nat Gas, we're still in a little bit of a downtrend here. We've got this kind of pattern. This is a bullish engulfing, though. I'm surprised that this thing rolled over. The bulls were lining this thing up, but I guess the weather came out and they said it was going to turn back. The weather forecast really turned this thing back down for natural gas. And then let's just look at copper real quick. It looks like it's going to head down. We've got bearish engulfing, and then the contraction up, and that usually means we're going to get a down day or two before this thing moves higher. Could be putting out a shoulder ahead and maybe even a shoulder pattern where we come back down a little bit. We might see a pullback there. Let's just see. I'll pull up a couple. That's called a bloody nose continuation pattern. Looks pretty good for First Majestic. Too bad this wick wasn't a bigger one on the bottom. This is still carving out a bottom for Fortuna Silver Mines. EXK, a little bloody nose, not too bad. And then just to look at some oil, we're still in a little bit of a pullback here. So a little lower before we go higher. MCF lower before we go higher. It hit that big resistance trend line. Maybe we broke through and kind of pulling back on the top of that gigantic chart pattern. So it's not looking too bad. Just a normal pullback. Nothing to be worried about. So, that's what I have for a market update. It's not, everything's still intact. Nothing to worry about. The housing starts are creeping up. Typically, that's inflationary. So we're positioned correctly. We're just going through a little bit of a pullback here in the majority of the sectors here. So hold on tight. The cheetahs will come around. They're just asleep right now. And if you guys like this content, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.